It's a 45-degree sunny day on March 1st, 2020, and I think we're going to nibble away at a few more parts of this camper hardside renovation project. First thing I want to do is put some screws into the sides of the door so we can get that nice and seated real well. I want to put some framing members across the roof, across the top. I picked up some 2x3s that we're going to use for that, a little bit beefier than a 2x2 and not quite as heavy as a 2x4. So we'll put those in there, and then after that we're going to try to get some of this siding on and see how that goes. For the door anchors here, what I ended up doing was drilling a larger hole here so that we could put a screw in there that would hold this firmly to the side here. Initially I was going to try to put a bolt right here to hold it in, but we had a couple issues there. One was it would pucker this side here and pull this in, and it wouldn't have a real good solid connection there. And then we also of course had the head space here that would get tangled up when we closed the door. So we did 4 of these, bigger hole there, screw through there, 1 on each side, or actually 2 on each side, and that holds it nice and tight. And then what we'll do is we'll get some rubber plugs so we can make that nice and a little bit more watertight down the line. We've got our roof supports in, everything's nice and tight, and the next thing is to start cutting our pine exterior and putting that on. And I know this is first world problems here. I'm very big on eyeballing stuff as far as whether it's visually square, and the way the ceiling is built in here and the angle of this big hanger kind of plays with your sense of square. So every time I've been double checking and triple checking all my measurements, taking out the square and making sure everything's right, because as I eyeball this and look up, it's really easy to get goofed up. But we're coming along really well now. The first of many pieces. I'm countersinking these screws just a little bit so we can fill this before we paint. But we're just going to keep working our way up. This is our very fancy cutting station. I could design some sort of a stop or a block. These are a little bit too long to use on my compound miter saw, so we are cutting those pretty much freehand very slowly. And for each of these, we're just going to clip them on with the clamps and screw them on. I am doing a quick pilot hole for each of these, so I've just got 2 portable drills, and we are doing 2 pre-holes just to make sure nothing splits. Chances are it would be okay without it, but it feels better having just a small entry hole lined up. I've been taking my time with this to try to keep this as true as we can be, and there's so many variables here with the stands in the back and the tires and the way the floor is lined up and everything, but I think we're doing pretty well. I can live with that. As far as the screws, I'm using pretty long ones. These are 1 3/4 inch in length, so we've got a real good bite into those studs. So we're about 75% into that stud, so it's got a real nice bite to it. And again, these are just slightly recessed, so we can fill that before painting and finishing. That's part of our long side. I'm going to start working my way around, and when we get to the top, then we'll work on finishing that off nice and neatly. But it's cool that we've got most of one wall up. Now we're going to move on to the front. And as far as the way these seams are going to work, I'm going to get some aluminum trim, and the aluminum trim is going to go right along the edge. Cool. Just another view on this side. As far as the roof goes, I had a piece of foam that was blowing around, so I just put that up there to kind of get a feel for the way the ceiling would look when we do get that up. Slowly working our way up. That's the front and the side, except for the very top piece that we'll be working on for finishing and trim later on. Windows are still being designed and sketched out. So pretty dark right now, but we'll be improving that with windows and trim and all that good stuff. That's the long side and the front, except for the top trim pieces that we'll be working on when we get everything enclosed. Still sketching out the windows and the placement and the ones that I want to use. But we're coming along pretty well. I think that looks kind of cool. We've got most of the back wall on. I still need to put a couple more pieces on the top as well as circle around the roof. And then we'll work on this side. I think I'm going to need a few more pieces of this tongue and groove pine. I tried to selectively go through, and the ones that were too chewed up we kind of put to the side because we've got a door to work around. But I think that's looking kind of cool. It'll be neat when the windows start going in, kind of brighten things up a little bit. But we're getting there. I think that looks kind of cool. Fun little project. Let's take a quick look inside, and that's where we're going to have to stop for today. As the sun kind of moves through, it's a nice warm tone inside with that pine reflecting. So we're getting there. Thanks very much for taking a look.